Thank you very much for your patience. Some of you have been waiting for quite a while for this interview to start. So I would like to start by apologizing for taking up so much of your time. We have now resolved the issue. We've been keeping you updated on Facebook and on YouTube. We had a number of technical issues or technology related issues that delayed the call. But thank you so much for waiting. We did run a test call the other day, did not foresee this happening. And we're now on track. And I will not take up any more of your time. I will just go straight into the rest of the interview. Feel free to drop your questions, as I said, on the YouTube page. Drop your questions there on the stream in the chat space, and I can ask the guest composer as the questions come up, depending on what they are. So, without further ado, let us go into the interview. Welcome to our guest composer. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you for inviting me, Edward. I am Martin Mutinda from Kenya, specifically from Machakos County, but born in Makueni County. These are counties in Kenya, and basically, I'm very happy to be here. Yeah.
Okay, so you've told us where you were born. Can you give us an introduction to yourself as a composer? Just tell us the history, how you became a composer. Where did you start? Why did you start?
Thank you. I think this goes down in many years ago. I was a very small boy, and I remember I once was singing in a girls' choir. That is when my passion started. As a very small boy,
A
and
girls' choir. Did you say girls' choir?
yeah, there was a time we were doing some Kenya music festivals, and then I found myself in a girls' choir, whereby I was the only boy, and of course, I have another history from my family where my dad is a music teacher, and he's retired now, but he's also practicing it. He was recalled to continue doing it, and so it is something that I gotten from at my very tender age. And when I was when I was singing in that girls' choir, the teacher then was telling me, "Come on, this is a girls' choir. So why are you insisting that you should sing?" And I was telling him, "No, I have to. It has nothing to do with that being the gender, or that kind of thing. I have the voice, and I was singing soprano, and
How old
therefore
were you? Sorry, how old were you at this time?
I think I was about 7 years old that time, because I started my education a bit young, and so within that time, my dad was still practicing music, and we started now getting into it as his children. Most of us are in serious practice in music, and even today we owe that to our father, because I think I gotten that from him, and to the level that I am, then I need to give back to him.
Okay, so as a child, you were in the choir. Then what happened? How did you then move from singing as a 6 year old, 5, 6 year old to becoming a composer? What happened? Take us on that journey.
Yeah, of course, now after my primary level, at that time during my school times at the primary level, we were doing music as a subject. And then we went to high school. I went to high school. Fortunately, my dad was my music teacher in high school, so I had the advantage. Now, the most striking thing was, after when I was in Form 2, we had now to choose between subjects, and music was examinable at that time, but not for everyone. So students were to choose that subject. So me, among others, chose music, and we did it in our final exams. And then after school, now I had now to go to the other institutions to engage in other fields. And of course, I also engaged in performing arts and music and such. because we have several institutions in Kenya where we have the university, like Kenyatta University in Kenya is offering a music course. We have other institutions like Kenya Conservatory of Music and that. So I went on and on, with those institutions and workshops and, serious practice on using training of choirs, offering training of trainees, TOTs and the rest. So it's something that I've been kind of engaged fully all this time. It has been part of me. I've participated in so many fields. Like in Kenya, we have Kenya music festivals. We have the church, of course, festivals and the like. Yeah.
Okay. How are you doing during this period, by the way? We're all going through a very interesting time, especially considering the pandemic. How are you? How is it been managed where you live in Kenya, the part of Kenya that you live?
With this pandemic, once it came around, things have really changed. Like now, with the social distancing, we are no longer meeting our choirs. Like now, this is the time when we have the Kenya Music Festival on, because it runs it runs at the second term of the school calendar, and normally we are the trainers are usually very busy at this time, and of course now having that there's some partial lockdown and cessations and that kind of stuff, so you find to access institutions, even the churches that we participate in terms of training and of course taking part in the liturgy and all that is affected. So we are now in quarantine, and maybe sometimes we are going to work, other times we're not going to work. Most of the trainers, this is where they actually get their daily bread from, because once counties, inter-counties are locked, you cannot access where such institutions are, and therefore I think COVID has really given us a blow, but we are managing because we have improvised some new ways. I think you saw something that I was doing, giving hope to Kenyans, at some point doing some 1 minute, 2 minute songs about the guidelines that Kenyans should follow, the Ministry of Health guidelines. And therefore, in a way, it has become a bit shaky, but we're managing, and I hope this thing will just come and go.
Okay. Now, you've referred to some of the work that you've been doing musically to encourage Kenyans and to give hope to them, and to put the advice on what to do, steps to follow, how to help yourself, how to keep safe during this pandemic into the form of music. I'm going to watch one of those videos now. You also talked about your vocal range. You said when you were a child, you were singing soprano, and I think a little bit of it will come out in this. But I want people to Google this composer, this guest composer of today. You will find his videos are available online on YouTube, and you will see his range when you watch the videos as well. But for now, we are going to watch a song titled Corona, Agenda Yako Nigani. I might not have pronounced that correctly, but yes. So we're going to watch that now. I think it's a beautiful.
The right pronunciation.
Brilliant! Yay, Africa, Africa to Africa. And so let's listen to this new work by our guest composer, and then we'll return to the interview.
Corona, ulipotoka wewe, hakika hatujui, mipaka ukavuka, ukatuvamia. Jamani, tueleze ajenda yako gani? Umetuhangaisha, ya kwetu yamekwama, lakini usojua, siri tumefichua. Hata kipenya wapi, kamwe hutotupata. Tushagundua kwamba korona we ni tisho, waguzi wajasiri, kofia twawavulia, watakusaka kote hadi wakutoroshe wewe. Hata ufanye maisha yawe ngumu, korona tutakushinda.
Wow. Well done. Well done. That doesn't demonstrate enough his vocal range. Like I said, just look up our guest composer for today. So tell us a little bit about, I mean, you've been releasing these regularly for the last few weeks. I mean, anybody can go to your timeline and see them. And I thought, wow, this is so inspiring, so beautiful. You make up the tunes, you put the words together, and then you record yourself and you do the singing. So it's like almost like a one-man choir for some of these performances.
Yeah.
Tell us about this song.
Yeah, this song is. I was now like asking myself, where did this pandemic actually come from? Because it is something that, to us who are living in this century, is something that we've not seen before. And then initially it was said it came from wherever, maybe China, Wuhan. And then at that time we were not talking about it. So everyone was like, okay, just like any other disease, and therefore we not take it seriously until now. We said, okay, it was like this thing is real. And I had now the corona, the agenda is the normal English word, but now it's Swahili. And then I was asking, what is it, your agenda that you have, you as corona, because you have affected our lives, our normal way of living. We're not free to move, we're not free to shake hands, such things. And therefore I'm trying now to see a situation whereby as Kenyans and as a people and as people in the world, then we need to come up together and follow the guidelines, because that is the only way. And therefore it's a song to sensitize the public on keeping keeping safe. And of course at long last, I have said corona tutashinda means at long last we shall win. Yeah.
Fantastic. So you compose all of these songs, write the words, do the singing yourself, conduct yourself as well in all these different parts. And by the way, you've been featured on K24 TV, which is a major Kenyan television station. I mean, first of all, you do everything from scratch.
Of course. Now, because as a musician, you need at some point to think and eat and go and work music, and therefore some of these things will just come naturally. So when I just need to write that, then I multitask. I have to sing the soprano, the melody. I have to come up with the bass part, all the voices. Okay, and then of course I need now to shoot with my phone, because I cannot access a studio wherever I am.
Yeah.
So we need to go. In fact, the government has offered, our government Kenya has offered 100 million shillings. Now the only challenge is all the artists that need to record these songs or to come up with these works, they cannot access studios. The only people who need to access the studios are in Nairobi, our capital city. Where I am in Machakos, it's so difficult to get maybe a studio that can do this, and also needs money. And therefore, I'm sure that is also something that the government needs to look and see that, yes, some artists down at the village level, they are doing this thing, they are sensitizing the public, but they have not the capacity and the resources and the studios, because they are locked wherever they are. But I chose to do this in my small way, to use my voice to reach out.
How did it feel being featured by K24?
Of course, it came as a surprise, because I don't know. I actually did not send that video to them. So people were like in my FD account and other social media platforms. Come on, we saw you were singing that you are doing great. Then I was like, oh, okay. So you saw me. Oh, that's nice. And I felt at least I appreciated the station, because at least it reached the masses.
Yes.
In Facebook, I posted that video, but of course, not all Kenyans are in Facebook and in social platforms, and therefore, for the studio to, to play the video, it was a plus, and of course, Kenyans, at least I reached Kenyans and I communicated what I needed to communicate through that
Yeah.
video.
And hopefully, what you talked about earlier, this would help as well. You said those who are in Nairobi might get the recognition and support. They've got access to studios. So hopefully, your video and this effort you have made will also help other composers, people like you who are not in the capital, to get their voices out there to be heard and to spread the message that they want to spread. So,
Of course, I think that is great. That would be great.
okay. So we understand
Mm.
your motivation for doing this, for recording these videos. You have other video recordings. We are going to watch one later, but things are a bit difficult for a lot of people. Somebody sent a message yesterday on one of the WhatsApp groups I belong to, talking about how things are difficult for people everywhere, losing their jobs, not having access to food, water, electricity. I'm talking globally, people are just struggling in different parts of the world. What is the value of music at a time like this? What's the value? What's the point? Apart from giving people
Okay.
instruction through music, is there any
Yeah.
value left? The hopelessness that some people feel.
Most of the people at the moment are at home, and they're not working, and at the end of the day, they need to go out and get some few coins here and there. So you try to give them hope. I was singing these songs, and when I'm recording, my core spirit in me and my inspiration is to give these Kenyans, because that is where I am as a patriot. I need to give them hope, even in the world, because I also did one English song, because I need also to communicate to the world. And therefore, giving people hope that at some point we shall pull through, at some point everything is gonna get back to our normal ways. And therefore, it is time. But then also the government and the leaders and institutions, of course the churches are doing their best, but every institution need to do its part. If as artists we are doing our part by using our voices and our talents to reach out to the masses, then the people who have the resources and all that kind of stuff need also to do quite as much, because that will, it will keep the spirit of humanity and something like that. And as the saying goes, humanity is next to godliness, and therefore anything that as individuals we are doing, then I'm sure the world and the leadership and governance will see that this is something that needs to be done, and this is the way to go.
Hmm. Did you study music composition by any chance? Did you study music
Definitely.
composition
Yeah.
specifically?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Where did you study? Can you tell us about that experience? What was it like?
Apart from schoolwork, because we have institutions that have been offering things. I remember there was a time I was a teacher in a school in Nairobi. It's an informal settlement. It's a slum, but the school is located in a place we call Mukuru kwa Ruben. In fact, that is where I started, and they've started now the real training and writing songs. So through the school, it gave me some hope, because the pupils then were from very poor families. So the style of compositions that I was using then, I needed songs that would, augur well with the children, given their background. So the style and the composition that I write, firstly, I have to know whom am I composing for, what age. Is it a church oriented kind of setup? Is it a parastato? Is it, so because we have so many styles, and songs, like patriotic songs, we have then gospel and that kind of stuff. So when I was in that school we called Gatoto Primary, I also teamed with one Mr. Koigi, a very good guy, whom we were like now exchanging programs, having exchange programs in training these compositions. So therefore, my style is simplicity. Be simple, because that is the only way whatever people you are training will remember whatever you are training. And therefore, the style is so important, your choice of style, so that when it comes now to other development of this song, and the basics will be, whom am I writing these songs for? Yeah.
That's interesting when you say your style is simplicity, because that comes across from the recordings you've been doing over the last few weeks. With respect to
Yeah.
Corona and the lockdown, it's clear to see that you're going for something simple, memorable,
Yeah,
beautiful,
memory.
and very, very clear. So that's
It has to
brilliant.
sing. The words have to sing to the brains, to the ear of these people. That is music. If it doesn't sing, then it loses meaning. Because at the end of the day, I have to communicate, and simplicity is the way to go.
But simplicity is not easy to achieve. I
Of
think
course,
it's
it is.
easier.
Simplicity is complex also. Simple is complex, of course. Yeah.
Okay. And you have to have
Yeah.
the confidence to remove extra. So you might put extra things in your music, but you have to have the confidence to say, I will take this off, I'll take this off, I'll make it as simple as possible. You have to
Yeah,
have
of
that
course,
confidence.
because music sings even more than spoken words. So anything that is there, then it has to go down to the system, and to the main part of the listener and all that.
Okay. You talked about having a father who was involved in music. You said you were lucky when you started. He was your music teacher. There was some encouragement. Did you have no detractors whatsoever? Was there nobody saying, "Oh, don't study music; it's a waste of time. You won't make money from it"? Yeah.
Of course, in my high school, there is this peer pressure of boys, and we are there, and then they are like, where are you? You are only 3 or 4 people who are doing this. So of course, those are some of the things that are there, and choirs, because I mostly deal with choirs. We get these kinds of people telling you, it's like there is nothing else that there's nothing else that you want to do. You don't have some side hustles. My music's like a side hustling.
Yes.
But to me, I take it as it's so passionate. It's me. It's part of me. It's part of me, because I got that from my dad. When my father was my music teacher, of course, he was offering other subjects like English and Swahili, our local language. But then music was part of it. So I took it straight from him. So it is something that I said, okay, I might be discouraged by 1 or 2 things, at some point, but I was focused, and I knew where I was going. So it's something that I took it up, and I'm with it even today.
So it's important to stay focused and to also encourage yourself.
Definitely.
Okay. Uh, can you tell us who or what your influences are, apart from your father? Do you have anybody that you, maybe while you were growing up, you looked up to, you admired greatly as far as African compositions or music composition generally is concerned?
Definitely. In Kenya, we have several people, musicians whom I have been, following in terms of learning, other than schoolwork and college work and all that. But at the end of the day, you'll have somebody you think you have something that you've been learning from. And I've already said one, Mr. Koigi is my very good friend. And Mr. Koigi is a simple guy I have known for several years, and we've been together in our coming up as musicians. And of course, we have other guys who have been this together. There are so many of them. I cannot mention each and every one, but several people. We have Professor Wanyama. Yeah, we've Alphonse Camelo is passed on now. Is late. He's one of my role model, and also a family friend. And there are so many, Dr. To, there's so many people whom we've really read I do not want, because I don't want to be like this is, but they're there, and with them, because they know this, and I've been engaging them, calling and asking
Okay.
a second and third opinion. But the people have mentioned that they've been very close to me. They've been very close to
Okay, we're going to watch another one of your compositions. Before we do, I will just post or read this message from one of the people watching us, Mr. Peter Koigi. He said, "You must sing Kavuli, my best choice of all your arrangements." I
me.
suppose
Wow.
you know what he's talking about, I presume.
Yeah, I know the song.
Okay, all right.
It is also
So,
in FB, not in the YouTube.
oh, it's available on Facebook. Okay, so we're going to
Mm.
watch one of your compositions being performed by a choir, Nitume Bwana. So give us a second, everybody, as we watch this composition. Once this is over, we'll return to the interview. And again, feel free to drop your questions, as I said earlier, on the YouTube chat space. So this is Nitume Bwana by our guest composer of today.
Bwana wangu niko hapa, ni tayari unitume mimi, nitaenda bila kusita, niende kulihubiri Injili. Bwana wangu niko hapa, ni tayari unitume mimi, nitaenda bila kusita, niende kulihubiri nitaenda shambani mwa Bwana, nitapenda bila kusifu, nifanye kazi kwa mizabibu. Nalo Bwana na Roho Mtakatifu, vyote nifanye kazi shambani mwa mizabibu. Marafiki wangu wote nitaenda Bwana nitume mimi, niwe shambani nikiwa shambani kwa Bwana, nitaenda Bwana nitume mimi. Nyumba yangu ya ghorofa nitaacha, nitaenda Bwana nitume mimi. Nitaacha familia nende zangu shambani, nitaenda Bwana nitume mimi. Nitume niende niseme wokovu wako Bwana, nitume niende niseme kwa mataifa yote, nimebatizwa kwa jina la Baba, Mwana na Roho Mtakatifu. Tuma mimi Bwana wangu niko hapa, nitayari kutuma mimi, nitaenda bila kusita, niende kulihubiri Injili. Sauti ya Bwana yasikika shambani mwa mizabibu. Wawasagani nitahubiri utakaso, niwafanye wawe wafuasi wako, niwabatize kwa jina la Baba na la Mwana na la Roho Mtakatifu.
that was part of the composition by our guest composer of the day. Due to some ongoing technical issues, we've had to stop the playing that. But listen, it's available on YouTube for you to go and watch. For anybody who is interested in watching the remaining of the composition, we are getting some good feedback from people who are watching us now, who are saying things about the performance and the composition. Due to the ongoing technical issues that we are very much aware of, we will try and perhaps spend only 5 more minutes instead of 15 more minutes on the rest of the interview. Let's see how much we can pack into it. So, do you collaborate with composers beyond Kenya?
At the moment, Edward, I'm in the process because I have my colleagues whom have done the same. We have one Isindu, we have Binchi. I think Evans, you had an interview with Evans sometimes back.
Yeah.
And we have Geoffrey Mukoto, the Sylvester Otieno. There are guys who have with American, I think, choral director something. And that is something that is in pipeline that I need to move to that level. And I think it's something that I'm open to, because at the end of the day, music, it's like a desert. You can't reach the end. And you keep learning each day, and of course being humble and patient and all that. It's something that I'm heading to.
Okay, and you are thinking of collaborating with other composers across beyond Kenya. Have you identified any that you admire, that you think I would really like to work with this person?
Of course, I'm at my formative stages when it comes to now collaboration outside Kenya, because I think through my fellow choral directors in Kenya who have already done that, I think that's where I should borrow that leaf, because I might not have one or two people that I know who are in the diaspora or outside Kenya, but it's something that I'm seriously working on.
Okay, feel free to visit the African Composers Facebook page and website to find more composers. Definitely. I'm sure you will find people that you would like to collaborate with there. Let's finish with this question. When you step outside of Africa, you might not notice this when you are in Africa. I didn't notice it until I stepped outside, for a while, and I noticed that there are so many opinions about Africa that are being passed around by people who are not Africans, or even some Africans, in fact. Do you think that we can use music to write our stories more accurately? Because a lot of the stories that I hear, a lot of the opinions, a lot of them are not accurate, or sometimes they are selective. Do you think it is too late for us to get our original messages out there using music?
Yeah, of course. Music is a tool. Is a very effective tool when it comes to communication, and therefore, by the use of it, because we have so much in Africa, in whatever countries, in Kenya, with so much music in it that needs to be tapped into. Our communities have so nice traditional songs, folk songs that we can work on. And when because I get it from my fellow directors, and even in social platforms, whereby music from Africa, from Kenya, where I am, is so much appreciated out there, and people always like to listen. Like now, for instance, the composers, my fellow composers in Kenya, who have managed to participate in such exchange programs and collaborations, we've shared that, and they are like, when I look at the music that they go and train outside there, it is not English, it is not whatever language, it is our own languages here. We have Doluo, we have Kamba, we have Kikuyu. That is what the European choirs sing. And you see white people doing some of our music so nicely, and therefore I think it is to the positive side that is something that can work, and it can be appreciated there. It is us as Africans who are composers and artists do much more of it, and make it more appreciated. I think people will learn, and they will be up to the task of calling some of us, and participating in such fields.
Okay,
Yes.
brilliant. We have to continue to do what do what we do anyway, and try to spread the message. Um, and perhaps by doing so, we can tell the true stories and the more accurate stories
Definitely.
about our continent and about ourselves. It's been brilliant talking to you. It's a shame that we had to cut the conversation short, but yes, this interview was preceded by quite a few.
Maybe I could maybe some few minutes, because I still need to get one or two. Maybe you can get me one or two questions. I think there's some little time for it.
Yes, yes. I did ask
Mm.
your I did ask the people who are watching. We have quite a few people watching us to ask
Oh,
questions. I haven't seen any yet, but I do want to ask you generally, do you have any advice for African composers? We talked about the duty or what they can do to contribute towards telling our stories accurately. I'm
yeah.
telling you, there are so many things you will find out about Africa when you Google, for example, when you search online using Google or any other search platforms, you'll find some things that are just inaccurate. So, do you have
Exactly.
any general advice for African composers that you feel like sharing? Now, maybe you've had it at the back of your mind for some years, you've never had the opportunity to tell people to give this advice to them. Use this platform and the few minutes we have.
I think the most important thing to me, and as from me, is we need to kind of unite in music and in writing music, because at the end of the day, whatever you write and share, then it needs to get out there and speak to the minds, to the body and souls of humanity, so that if it is us as Africans, we have our level of communication, we have the platforms that we use, we are human beings as other people around the world. So it is us to own whatever we have as musicians. We need to create that kind of a rapport. We need to support each other, so that once we are united as Africans, like what we call the United States of America, then we can also have United States of Africa in music, that we move out there as a body, so that whatever our music is, whether it is gospel, whether it is contemporary, whether it is classical, whatever it speaks to humanity out there, and therefore that will slowly move the idea of racism, some issues, what was happening in South Africa, the apartheid thing. Like now we have the movie Sarafina, and the music that was used in that movie, it was so African, and people could grasp, the weight it came with in expressing what us as Africans need to be, and therefore, so music, whatever we are doing as composers from Africa, we need to collaborate, we need to speak it out, we need to unite, and we need to move forward, to the other part of the world, so that we engage each other in the art, and especially in music. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that advice. We have people here, for example, Africa Harmony said African music has not been explored. Do you agree with that? Do you think it has not been explored to the extent that it can be? So maybe we are still touching the surface of African music.
I think that is true, because for the last 2-3 years, that is the time I've started learning about our works being performed by choral groups outside our country, like Kenya, and of course, beyond Africa. So we need to do much more. We need to do much more. And the only thing that is joining our brothers from the other side, so that we team up together, so that we share our music and have that kind of an exchange programs, because once I move from where I am, I will learn more. And when they come over, they will learn our way, our idioms, how we write our music, you know, the communities around us. We need to translate our works to them because majority of them we might be using our own native languages.
Yeah.
And therefore,
Yeah.
it's something that we need. And you know, that aspect of uh, culture, interculture change, you know, you realize the cultures out there and our cultures, then at the end of the day, we'll have something more unique, and the appreciation of our cultures through our music will be quite extended, and therefore it is something that we need to work out.
Okay. There's one
Now,
question on the screen for you. Mr. Peter Koegi is asking, how can you help us to come up with a performance platform in Africa, especially in choral music? I thought we have a lot of performance platforms already. I know there's one, something called choir. I think it's in Kenya. There's a
the choir,
competition. People go, yes. It's a
yeah,
TV based competition. I mean, don't you have those already? Thank you, Mr. Peter,
yeah.
for the question. Thank you.
Yeah, the choir was a platform that was used. Okay, there was some monies that were to be won. So it is a program that just came and
Ah,
went. And then we had another one we called the Ultimate Choir, with the same policy and procedures. And it is not something that it is today. So that is where the problem is, that we need to kind of have something that is ongoing. Yeah. In Machakos, we had one we called the top choir in Machakos. In fact, my choir won that award,
yes.
and I'm sure the governor of Machakos County sees this and will also have that platform going ahead, so that it is financed by other institutions, not also the so by answering Mr. Koigi, we need to have platforms that will stay, not platforms that people just earn like some few coins and then that is done. It will not really have helped so much. So we need platform that will make our choirs grow and choral music in Kenya grow, not just because of we want to earn something here and there that might not help us at the end of the day. So we have to have that kind of long-term plans. We have institutions that need, and in any case, maybe this is the challenge to our government. You know, music as a subject is not offered as a subject in examinable in Kenya. Sometimes back it was done where in primary school you were doing music, in high school it was a compulsory kind of a subject, but not anymore. So I think that is something that our government needs, and the government need to acknowledge art, and in specific music, so that it is examinable. We have so many institutions offering it, because the institutions like in Kenya, the institutions that are offering music as a subject and as a course are so few, and majority cannot even raise the fees and the tuition fee for that. Very few, so much needed in terms of somebody who wants to learn music. And therefore, apart from the platforms, then we need also to formalize many institutions that will have, will lead people to learn music, other art, because it's not music only. We've so much in the art sector.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
I just thought of something now. I mean, you do this wonderful work where you compose regularly and you post the videos of you singing alone different parts. Have you thought about creating something with different African languages and then sending it out to different singers across Africa, maybe through our African Composers Facebook page, and getting people to record different parts in different languages for the period we are in, or just for Africa generally?
I think that is an insight you are giving me that I need beyond now where what I'm doing. I think that's something that I need to work out on, because it's something that okay, with the app that I was using to record this music, this one man a cappella thing. There's an area of collaboration, to collaborate with other guys who could add maybe some instrumentation, some guitar, the violins, and such musical
Okay.
instruments. But I think it's something that uh, uh, me and other people with the same spirit and the same ideas can use to reach out. Like now with the African composers, something that I need to seriously now go into. I think it's a platform that will enhance and uplift the music we have in Kenya, because it's a great. When I looked at your page, it's a page that is a wall that people need to take it seriously, and I think it's something that can really develop music.
Thank you.
Particularly.
Okay, thank you. So I look forward to hearing from you. Let's see what you come up with for Africa. Oh, 2 questions now. Mr. Griffin is asking, how can we get your music? So how can we get music that you have composed? Is it available online somewhere for sale, for free, WhatsApp groups? What's available? And the second question is, will you still continue giving us hope even when the pandemic is over?
First question is about my availability of music. Of course, so many choral directors, of course, with the same level as I am, I have been writing music for them, and I have been giving music out to them, and therefore it's available.
Oh, hello, hello. We have lost our guest. Just give us a few seconds.
Sorry,
Hello?
there was some. So
Yes.
it's something that I can organize. I just need to get a site where I need to download my music, my sheets of music, so that at least people can. So that's something that a challenge to me that I need to work out on the availability of my music, apart from the local arrangement of that and all that. Then we have the question of post COVID. Yes, of course. Encouraging people, it's good, because hope. We need to have some hope for tomorrow, because as human beings, we need to move on. If people are saying, this COVID thing is here to stay, but whether it is here to stay, whether it is not, I
think we are having a bit of a problem with the technology again. Let us see if we can resolve it. We are at the end of the interview anyway. Just give us a few seconds, please. We have we appear to have lost our guest composer's connection completely. Let us see if he can reconnect in the next 1 minute. Let's just give him a few seconds, please. Please, let's give our guest composer a few seconds to connect. We are trying to get him back online. Okay. So we should have him back with us shortly. Let him reconnect. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. Thanks for your feedback, your comments, and your questions. He's trying to reconnect.
Sorry.
Wow, no problem. You were talking about continuing to give hope after the pandemic
Yes,
is over.
yes. That's something that I will continue doing because it's not something that I started because because of this, or so it's something that I will continue doing. Really.
Okay. I
So
think this will be a good point at which to bring the interview to a close. Uh,
oh,
I I truly appreciate everyone who waited, even though while we were having all the technical difficulties and trying to resolve them. Thank you, and thank you for those who joined us and watched this interview live. Thank you for your comments, your feedback, your question, and being active participants in this interview. Thank you too to our guest composer of today, Mr. Martin. Thanks for persevering, and thanks for your interest and your support with the interview that we've had this morning. Oh, this afternoon. In fact, it's pushed. It was pushed from this morning to this afternoon. Thank you very much, and we hope to continue to follow through on your progress. Keep up with you, with your different activities, your music compositions, your choirs. I did not mention this earlier, but our guest composer of today is actually a choral director of 3 different choral groups. It's absolutely brilliant. So we hope to hear more from him and follow up with his activities. We also wish him success with his future endeavors. Thank you very much, everyone. I can see questions are still are still coming in, but I will have to direct the questions to the guest composer of today offline. But once again, thank you to everyone, and thank you to our guest composer of today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye bye.